Welcome back and Merry Christmas. It's Christmas. I don't know when I'm going to post this video, but I want to wish everybody Merry Christmas. And what do we do on Christmas when we want a toy but it doesn't exist yet? Well, we have to make it, of course. So here we have my latest toy. I decided to make a stand based on an idea from Prospector's channel, and told him I was going to steal it and make it a working model, and got his blessing. So anyway, here's what we have. A PVC stand. It assembles pretty easily, puts together with pins, so I can do it in a hurry in the cold, and it should work like that, and should be stable enough, I hope. I may have to shorten the legs, I don't know. The thought behind this is that I have it at hip height, so if I get a fish, I can just pick the rod up without having to bend down quickly, as well as setting it back in place without having to bend down on the ground. But the most important thing I think is that it's going to be off the ice, away from the water, so we're not going to get splashed on and have the mechanism freeze up, which has been a great problem with these when you're outside the tent. So I thought that would be a cool thing to try. We'll see how it works out Saturday. I'm going to Schofield with some other tubers, and I'm excited to see you guys there. Now, I did want to do a quick little ditty on the GoPro 8. As you know, I'm using my 6, and I've had some issues with my 8, and I thought I would explain to you what's going on with this 8 in case you're thinking of getting one, so that you know what to be aware of. It seems to have a lot of cool features, and it's supposed to be a step above all the rest. It does have capabilities that none of the others do. Things like time-lapse, where if you're walking along the bank fishing, it will speed that up, and when you stop to fish, it'll go back to normal speed, so you don't bore your viewers to death, which is really cool. It also lets you do speeds on the camera itself. In other words, you can film at 1 or 2 times speed and not have to edit that or speed that up at home. This would seem like a great feature, but I can tell you if you accidentally bump it and you're doing 1 time speed, you won't have any sound and your video will be a little faster than it should be. And that's what happened a couple videos back for me on the Provo River when there wasn't any sound and I didn't know it. So you got to be careful with these features on here that you don't turn something on or off accidentally, because it will do things to you that you'd have to mess with in the editing room, or you may not be able to recover. The difference between this one and others, another major difference is these little tabs on the bottom are built in. So you don't have to have a case. You can just bolt that right onto your chest mount or whatever you want to do and just go to town. This is, of course, waterproof like the others. Now they thought they have done a great thing here by putting everything in one compartment. In other words, you don't have the battery down here and the charging port up here. You have the SD card, the battery, and the charging port all in one opening, which, you know, sounds like a great idea, but what I've found is what that means is you have to, if you're going to run an additional battery with a line to your pocket, because these things, you're changing batteries all the time, or you have one in your pocket that lasts all day. If you do that, then you have to have this door off. So if you have this door off, your battery is open, and your battery will shake loose occasionally because it's not held in. So if you're bouncing around on the rocks fishing and this thing starts to jiggle, all of a sudden you look down and you've got a circle here saying repairing file. For another 5 minutes you sit there while it repairs a file. And when you get home you find you've got double videos, missing videos, lots of fun stuff. So that's not an improvement, that's something that causes trouble. Another issue I'm having with this darn thing, if you take a look, it comes with a special battery, a little blue tip on it. Now, they claim that you need this battery because it has the capabilities of giving the juice fast enough for this GoPro to write faster to the SD card than it would normally. And which brings to mind another problem. That means you can't use a normal micro SD card. It has to be an extreme or faster card to handle this writing. And then they, last but not least, gave us another little fun trick here. In this blue battery is a chip, kind of like the keys you have to your car. And if you don't have this in, you don't have the chip in, it disables features like the time lapse and other cool features that it has, thinking that, oh, it can't handle it because it doesn't have the right battery. And the best part is, if you get online and you check the specs between a 7 Pro and an 8 Pro battery, They are the exact same battery. But of course, this one costs more, and if you don't have it in, you don't have all your features available. And it gets better. This battery, you're lucky on 4K if it lasts an hour. Lucky. So you need to be plugging it in. So you need to have this lid off, and you need things to start falling around and repairing files and losing footage. Just a nightmare. If you don't have this battery in without the features enabled, you won't have all your features while you've got the extra battery plugged into it, running it to keep it alive. And if you don't, if you have that battery in while you're charging it at the same time, your charging battery will not keep up with that battery. In other words, that battery will slowly lose voltage throughout the day until it's down to zero or low enough that the GoPro thinks that it's got to turn itself off. And when it does that, you're going to lose your footage. Plus, if you pull it out and then just run it off the battery pack, it will do that. But of course, you don't have your features because that chip is not in your machine. So you need like 2 batteries a day plus a battery pack plugged into it to film all day and have all the features active. What a joke. So it does have insane footage capabilities, DSLR. It has footage rendering capabilities that my computer can't even keep up with. So I can't even take some photos or video with this on its highest setting because I don't have the computer to do it. And I have a nice computer. So that's another thing you want to keep in mind if you're thinking about getting a GoPro 8. So just some fair warning to y'all. And last but not least, I thought I would mention the situation with the Provo River where we have fish dying. I did call the DWR, finally got a hold of a biologist there in person and spoke with him. And he said they were monitoring the middle Provo, and they'd seen a lot more of the ick than they're used to seeing, but they do see it every year. I asked him if he'd seen any dead. He said there was no dead. I said, well, I can take you to several dead on the lower right now. And he said, well, they usually recover quite well, but I said, they're not recovering from death. So you might want to check into that. He said that, well, they're probably going to start monitoring the lower then, maybe go take some water samples and see why they would be dying. He said, they look terrible, they usually come through, but they don't die. And I said, well, yeah, I've got footage of dead ones if you'd like, and I can take you to see them. And he'd said that they beat each of themselves up during the spawn, and that's when they get infected. I mentioned to him that I have footage of a big fish in a hole by a rock wall, and I went back a week later. He hadn't moved, he hadn't beat himself up, he hadn't gone anywhere. Healthy 7 days earlier and sick as a dog the next week with spots all over him. So they're probably going to look into that, but let that be a lesson to make sure that you go and take it into your hands and take it upon yourselves to protect your fish and wildlife, because I think just like anything else, if you want something done right, you're going to have to do it yourself. But Merry Christmas and tight lines, everybody. And I'll see some of you Saturday.